What happens when a racist flight attendant messes with the wrong man? When Damien Rhodes boarded Horizon Flight 119 wearing a tailored suit and carrying a briefcase full of million-dollar merger contracts, he wasn't just another first-class passenger. He was the silent owner of the airline. But none of that mattered to Erica Vaughn, the lead flight attendant who saw a black man in seat 1B and decided he didn't belong. What began as a snide remark turned into a full-blown campaign of humiliation, a forced downgrade, a coffee spill, a mob, a fake arrest, and a smear campaign that went global. She tried to take his dignity, his name, and even his freedom. What she didn't know was that Damien wasn't just fighting for a seat. He was about to expose the entire system. If this story hits you like it hit us, tell us where you're watching from, like this video, and hit subscribe. Because sometimes the most dangerous turbulence isn't in the air, it's in the people who think they own it. The glow inside Horizon Airways Flight 119's first-class cabin was soft and golden, designed to whisper wealth, not shout it. Damien Rhodes stepped through the jet bridge with a calm presence that didn't ask for attention but pulled it anyway. His navy suit hugged his frame like it had been sculpted onto him, the deep burgundy tie sharp against his chest. No logos, no flash, just intention. The moment he crossed the threshold, he felt it. From the galley, Erica Vaughn clocked him instantly. Tall, black, unbothered, and dressed like someone who knew exactly where he belonged. Her ice-blonde bun sat too tight on her scalp, her smile too tight on her lips. Her blue eyes narrowed just slightly before the corner of her mouth twitched into something between suspicion and disdain. "Guess they're letting anyone up here now," she muttered, just loud enough for the junior attendant beside her to hear. The kid, barely 20, let out a nervous snicker. Damien heard it. He didn't flinch. Years of boardroom battles had taught him when to play quiet and when to speak like a blade. He said nothing. Instead, he handed over his boarding pass. Damien, seat 1B. The same seat he'd taken on this same route half a dozen times, though no one here seemed to recognize him. Erica snatched the pass like it had been dipped in oil. She held it to the light, tilting it back and forth as if it might peel itself apart and reveal a forgery. "This looks off," she said, squinting hard enough to wrinkle her nose. "Scan it again." The junior attendant blinked. It beeped green. Again. Beep. Green. "Still not right," she said, lips pursed. "We've had issues with fakes before. You'd be surprised who tries to sneak into first class." Damien's brow ticked up a fraction. Her implication was thick and sour. He said low and even, it scanned twice. "I'm good." Erica's jaw tightened. But the scanner didn't lie. She couldn't stop him. Not yet. She stepped aside like a queen tolerating a trespasser. "Go on, then." Damien gave her a polite nod, walked toward 1B, and felt her eyes boring into his back like twin scalpels. He didn't look back. He never did. The first-class cabin smelled of cedar and citrus, the leather seats wide enough to sleep in each tray table polished to a sheen. He hoisted his briefcase, custom leather initials etched in gold, into the overhead bin. It landed with a soft thunk. Erica's shadow appeared beside him again. "You'll need to keep that with you," she said sharply. He turned slowly. The bin was completely empty. "The plane hasn't even boarded," he said. "Plenty of space." "New policy," she replied. "Overhead bins close early. Safety, you know." And without waiting, she slammed the bin shut. The sound cracked through the cabin like a gavel. Heads turned. A man in a pinstripe suit leaned to his neighbor and whispered something with a smirk. A woman adjusted her pearl necklace and avoided Damien's gaze. He didn't move. He didn't give her what she wanted. "All right," he said quietly, and lowered the briefcase to his lap. It dug into his thighs. Solid, full of documents for the $500 million merger he'd be finalizing in New York. He adjusted the strap and sank into the leather seat, which seemed to mold around him like it knew who he was, even if Erica didn't. She hovered for a moment, watching for a reaction. She didn't get one. She turned on her heel and strode back to the galley. A few minutes later, another passenger boarded, older white linen shirt and boat shoes dragging a duffel. Erica's whole demeanor changed. She beamed all sugar and light. "Not a problem at all, Mr. Langley," she cooed. "Let me get that for you." She opened the bin above him with care and placed his bag inside like it was a sacred relic. Damien watched. He felt the sting, but he'd seen this dance before. How some folks got wine and deference and others got suspicion wrapped in fake smiles. He glanced out the window, the sunset bleeding into the tarmac, and reminded himself 5 hours. That's all he needed to endure. 5 hours to New York. Then the merger. Then the real work. He thought the slammed bin was the worst she had. He was wrong. 30 minutes into Horizon Flight 119, Damien Rhodes was still in 1B, barely. The briefcase on his lap had begun to dig a groove into his thighs, but he refused to move it. Every fiber of him knew why it was there. Not policy, not safety, power play. He focused on his tablet eyes, scanning merger notes, trying to shake off the heavy air that Erica Vaughn had pressed around him. Then she returned, clipboard in hand, smile fake and polished like chrome. "Mr. Rhodes," she said sweetly, "we've just noticed a small issue with your seat assignment." He looked up, slowly. "It appears your seat's been double booked. Glitch in the upgrade system. These things happen." "No," Damien said calmly, showing the pass again. "Booked this flight 3 weeks ago. Confirmed. 1B. Erica tilted her head, her smile sharpening. "Right. But our system shows 9C now. Just a formality. Regulations FAA policy. I'm going to need you to move." Damien didn't blink. "Scan it." Again. Her smile strained. She turned to the junior attendant, who hesitated, then scanned the pass. Beep. 1B. The screen lit up. Damien Rhodes verified. A flicker passed across her face. Tight, almost invisible. "Must have been a sync issue," she muttered, shoving the pass back into his hand. "But we still need the seat." "No," he said simply. Erica leaned in, lowering her voice to a hiss. "You can make this easy, or you can make it loud. FAA gives me discretion over seating for safety. If I say move, you move, or I bring security." Every conversation in first class stilled. A man with a glass of bourbon in 3C smirked, watching. Damien sighed. He could feel it. The trap tightening. He had options. Push back 'cause a scene give her what she wanted. Or... He stood. At 6'2", he towered over her, calm in the face of absurdity. "I'll move," he said. "But this isn't the end of it." She didn't reply, just smiled wider, turned, and led him down the aisle. Passengers stared, some smug, some silent. No one spoke. She guided him all the way back to economy. 9C, middle seat row of despair. To his right, a man in a tracksuit already snoring. To his left, a woman with a chihuahua in her lap and a Bluetooth headset in her ear. "There you go," Erica chirped. "Cozy, isn't it?" He slid in slowly, the briefcase now crammed between his knees. His shoulders pinched inward. The dog yipped. The woman grimaced. "Now it's tight," she muttered. From first-class laughter floated back, light, indulgent. Damien stared straight ahead. He'd taken the hit. He'd moved, dignity intact, for now. An hour later, the drink cart rolled out. Erica was pushing it. She moved through first class like royalty, pouring wine into crystal glasses, giggling with passengers, her voice saccharine. Then she reached him. "Coffee?" she asked, her eyes gleaming. "Sure," he said, monotone. She poured. And just before he could take the cup, her elbow slipped. The scalding liquid splashed directly onto his lap. The heat seared through the fabric. Damien jerked back, breath caught in his throat, hands flying down to brush away the coffee. His suit soaked. His skin stung. "Oh no," Erica gasped, stepping back. "Tight squeeze back here. My mistake." Gasps. A few chuckles. Someone muttered. She warned him. She grabbed napkins and tossed them at him without looking. "Clean yourself up." Damien froze. Chest rising, jaw locked. His thighs burned his suit. Custom irreplaceable. Was ruined. His briefcase had taken a hit too, leather darkened by the splash. She walked away like nothing had happened. He wiped the worst of it off the napkins, shredding in his fists. He didn't say a word. Not yet. Because now it wasn't just about power. It was personal. By the time Horizon Flight 119 leveled out at 35,000 feet, Damien Rhodes had stopped feeling the sting of the coffee burn. What lingered was worse, the humiliation. His suit was a wreck. His seat was a cage. The merger documents on his tablet felt miles away, tucked between the soggy folds of his briefcase. Still, he focused on the numbers, typing with measured calm, refusing to give Erica Vaughn anything more than silence, until she came back. Clipboard in hand, tone cool, almost bored. "Mr. Rhodes," she said loudly, "your tray table appears to be malfunctioning." He looked down. The table was wobbly, sticky from the coffee, but hardly broken. "Looks fine to me. It's been reported as tampered with," she replied. "That's a safety violation." Heads turned again. The murmurs returned. Damien kept his voice low. "You spilled the coffee. I didn't touch the table." Erica's lips curled ever so slightly. I don't know what you're implying, but passengers don't get to argue protocol. She spun and walked away, her ponytail flicking behind her like punctuation. 10 minutes later, the intercom crackled. Her voice echoed across the cabin. Attention crew, we have a potential safety issue in row 9. Security to 9C, please. A hush dropped like a curtain. Passengers twisted in their seats. A woman 2 rows ahead gasped. The man in the tracksuit beside Damien stirred, blinking. What now, he mumbled. Damien sat up straighter. He wasn't surprised, just furious, controlled. A pair of uniformed security officers entered from the rear galley, one burly, one lean, both serious. Sir, the larger one said, we need to inspect your belongings. Damien nodded. Calm. Go ahead. He passed them the briefcase. They opened it. Inside, papers, charger, tablet, a second phone. All standard, all clean. One officer opened the tray table, pressed, gently raised an eyebrow. Little sticky, not broken. The other looked at Erica, who had appeared behind them like a ghost. Still. I'd log it, she said. Better safe than sorry. The security officers looked at each other, then at Damien. You can stay, the tall one said, handing back the bag. But no more infractions. Damien gave a tight nod. He sat in silence as the murmurs swelled. He thought it was over. Then the whispers started. Not from her, from them. Disruptive since boarding, someone said. Messed with the seat. Then the cart. Didn't want to move. The words rippled like heat through the rows. He heard them. He felt them. Vanessa hadn't needed to say more. She'd planted the seeds. Now they were blooming in every aisle. The man in 3C leaned into the aisle and called out, Why is he still here if he's causing trouble? Erica answered without missing a beat. We're handling it, sir. The murmurs turned to judgment. The woman beside him shifted her dog into her lap. The tracksuit man angled his body away like Damien was contagious. It wasn't just the seat anymore. It wasn't just the coffee. Now it was his presence. Damien clenched his fists in his lap, knuckles pale. He didn't speak, didn't defend, because that's what she wanted. He looked to the front of the plane and caught her watching him, arms folded, face composed, eyes cold. She hadn't won, but she was getting close. The coffee stain on Damien Rhodes' suit had dried into a stiff, dark crust by the time Horizon Flight 119 began its descent toward Denver. He hadn't planned to land anywhere but New York, but Erica Vaughn had other plans. It started with a cough, then a gasp. He looked up and saw her stumble into first class, clutching her throat with theatrical flair. Her clipboard dropped with a loud clack. Oh God, she wheezed. Something's wrong. I can't breathe. Passengers turned. What's happening? Someone whispered. He poisoned me, she rasped, pointing a trembling finger toward the rear of the cabin. That man in 9C, he gave me something. Gasps broke out like firecrackers. Damien froze. His mind couldn't catch up to the insanity. I didn't touch her, he said, standing voice firm. But it didn't matter. Panic spreads fast at 35,000 feet. The intercom crackled again, her voice barely holding suspected poisoning. Requesting immediate diversion. Medical emergency. The captain came on next, clipped and urgent. This is your pilot. We're diverting to Denver. ETA 20 minutes. Emergency response on arrival. The plane banked hard. People gripped armrests. The dog in 9B began to whimper. Damien sat back down slowly, every eye in the cabin on him. He could feel the verdict landing long before the wheels would. She's been saying he was a problem since boarding, a woman whispered. That's the guy who messed with the tray, right? No one does all that unless they've got something to hide. A man in first class stood fuming. Why is he still back there? Minutes later, the cabin lights brightened. The plane touched down in Denver with a jolt that echoed through the floorboards. Damien remained still, hands on his lap, pulse steady. Then came the security officers. 2 of them again, same uniforms, different posture. Mr. Rhodes, one said, We need you to disembark. For what, he asked calmly. She's claiming assault, the officer said. I didn't touch her. We'll sort it out inside. Behind them, paramedics swarmed around Erica near the galley. She had collapsed into a jump seat, one hand still on her throat, though her breathing seemed miraculously steady now. A few passengers clapped as the officers led Damien toward the exit. Finally, someone muttered, Hope they ban him for life. At the jet bridge, Monica's voice echoed in his memory. You always stay calm no matter how loud the world gets. He did. Until now. Because this wasn't loud anymore. It was dangerous. The airport holding room smelled like bleach and old coffee. Damien sat on a plastic bench, wrists cuffed, jacket ruined, reputation bleeding. He had been arrested. Arrested. All because Erica Vaughn had pretended to choke. But fate wasn't done turning. "Wait," a voice said, gravelly, older, firm. A man with a gray beard in row 8B had spoken up. "I saw the whole thing," he told the officers. "She poured her own water. That man never gave her anything." The cops hesitated. "You sure, damn sure she's lying." Back on the plane, the flight crew pulled galley camera footage. It showed everything. No contact, no exchange, no poisoning. The footage arrived just in time. The charges evaporated, the cuffs came off, and Damien stood in the sterile room rubbing his wrists where the metal had bitten into skin, his jaw clenched as the officer mumbled, "You're free to go. No apology. Just release." Outside cameras flashed. Passengers filmed from the windows. Some still whispered. But the truth had clawed its way to the surface. Again. He'd survived the spill, the seat downgrade, the fake safety threats, the mob. And now this. A fake medical emergency. A literal crime scene. He should have felt victorious. He didn't. Because the war wasn't over. Erica Vaughn had failed to bury him at 35,000 feet. But he knew one thing for certain as he walked away from that holding room, his shoulders squared despite the bruises. She wasn't finished. Not even close. Damien Rhodes touched down in New York with his phone buzzing like a beehive in his pocket. He hadn't even left the airport when the headlines hit. Violent disruption on Horizon Flight 119. CEO impersonator escorted off in cuffs. His name wasn't in the title, but the photo told it all, him mid-step, hands behind his back, jaw-tight, shirt stained, being walked off the plane like a criminal. The story exploded. Social media spun it faster than he could tap the screen. A hashtag was already trending. Horizon Thug. Damien's inbox flooded. Emails from clients, board members, his assistant's frantic voice in a voicemail. The merger team saw the article. They're pulling out. They think it's real. They think, "You lied." He opened X and froze. His account was active, but he hadn't posted. A new tweet was pinned to the top. "I scammed Horizon. I'm not who I claim to be. Everything you heard is true." Attached a doctored photo. His face photoshopped onto a mugshot backdrop. The likes 90,000 and rising. The replies vicious. Knew he looked shady. Another fake exec caught in the act. "Throw him in jail." His hands trembled as he tried to log in. Password changed. Two-factor bypassed. He called Trey Nichols, his longtime tech guy. "She hacked me." Trey didn't need more. "I'm on it. Give me an hour." Damien sat on the curb outside the terminal, his briefcase resting beside him like dead weight. He had the galley footage, a witness, legal clearance from Denver. But on the internet, facts came last. An hour later, Trey called back. "Got in. Post deleted. Password reset. She used a masked VPN, but I traced the pattern. It's her." Then came the worst part. "She didn't just post," Trey said. "She scraped your inbox, leaked internal merger docs, framed them like a fake deal. It's all over now." Sure enough, by the time Damien checked his newsfeed again, another article had dropped. Langston's fake deal Horizon exec fabricated billion-dollar merger to climb corporate ladder. His phone pinged again. Malik Porter, Horizon's CEO, and once his friend texted, "Board is panicking. They're freezing your shares pending review." Damien's breath caught. His 51% stake in Horizon, frozen. No vote, no access, no leverage. She hadn't just embarrassed him. She'd gutted him. He called Malik. "You know this is fake." "I do," Malik said. "But William Torrance doesn't." Erica got to him. Damien's voice dropped. "She doesn't even work here anymore. She doesn't need to." Malik replied. "He's protecting her." And the board spooked. The merger was dead, his credibility scorched, and now his ownership suspended like he didn't build the company brick by brick. At his hotel in Midtown, Damien sat at the edge of the bed, scrolling through comments with glazed eyes. Liar, fraud, criminal pretending to be a CEO. He closed his phone, opened his laptop, and changed course. He uploaded everything: the galley footage, the witness statement, the scan history of his 1B seat, the screenshots of Erica's internal complaint forwarded from an anonymous source, and the HR records he had archived since the day he took over Horizon, documents Erica never thought he had access to. Then he called Jordan Wells. "I want to sue." "Already drafting," she said. "Filing in the morning." And Damien, "Yeah, get ready. We're going nuclear." By dawn, his story had flipped. Flight attendant behind viral scandal, faked allegations. CEO releases footage. #justice. For Damien began trending. News anchors who'd smeared him the night before now played the security video in slow motion. Erica hadn't just lied, she'd staged it all. The board reinstated his shares within the hour. Malik called back breathless. "You're good. We're shutting Torrance out. Legal's drafting his removal." Damien leaned against the window, sunrise spilling across the skyline. For the first time in a week, he breathed fully. He'd survived the downgrade, the spill, the mob, the cuffs. He'd flipped her digital war on its head. He thought it was over. It wasn't. Because Erica Vaughn wasn't done losing yet. And some people don't go down quietly. 2 days after Damien Rhodes flipped the media narrative, he stepped out of his Midtown hotel in a fresh navy suit, shoulders squared. The bruises were fading. The air felt lighter. The $500 million merger was breathing again. His shares had been restored. Erica Vaughn had been exposed, disgraced, and fired. Finally. Now he was on his way to a CNN interview to tell the world the truth in his own words. His black rental sedan gleamed at the curb sunlight bouncing off its polished surface. The valet handed him the keys with a respectful nod. Damien slipped inside, adjusted the rear view, and tapped the ignition. The engine purred. Finally, control. He turned onto 6th Avenue traffic humming around him. The city stretched out like a challenge, and for once he felt ready to meet it. He didn't make it 3 blocks. A squad car screeched behind him, sirens slicing through the city noise, lights flashing, horn blaring. Damien frowned, slowed, pulled over, rolled the window down, hands visible on the wheel. 2 officers approached, fast guns already drawn. Out of the vehicle, one shouted, "Whoa! What's going on?" Damien asked, heart rate spiking. The larger cop didn't answer. He yanked the door open, wrenched Damien's arm behind his back, and cuffed him hard. "You're under arrest for possession with intent to distribute," what Damien's voice cracked. "You've got a kilo of uncut product in your trunk," the second officer said, already popping the latch. No, that's impossible." But there it was, a brick of white powder sealed in a clear bag, clean, dry, untouched, and definitely not his. Phones came out. Passers-by filmed as Damien was pushed against the squad car, hood wrists behind his back suit, wrinkled eyes wide with disbelief. Not again. At the precinct, the questions came fast. "Where'd you get it? Who are you working for?" Damien stayed silent. Lawyer. Jordan Wells stormed in within the hour, her pinstripe blazer sharp enough to cut glass. "This is a frame job," she snapped, tossing a folder on the desk. The rental was clean. "We've got the checkout footage, valet access logs, timestamps." The lead detective raised an eyebrow. "Still, it was in his trunk." Jordan didn't blink. "Then pull the street cam. You'll see who actually put it there." It didn't take long. Footage showed a valet, different uniform, swapping keys. 2 minutes before Damien stepped out of the hotel, another angle caught a woman in a baseball cap and blonde ponytail walking away. Even in disguise, Erica Vaughn's smirk was unmistakable. The charges were dropped within the hour. Still, the arrest hit the news before the release did. Damien Rhodes arrested in drug bust outside CNN appearance. The photo was brutal, him in cuffs, jaw-clenched, eyes hard. It didn't matter that it was fake. Didn't matter that it was undone, because once again she'd gotten there first. Back at Jordan's brownstone safe house, Damien slumped on the couch, tie loosened, phone buzzing nonstop. The merger back in jeopardy. The board quiet again. The investors spooked all over again. "She's trying to bury you in allegations," Jordan muttered, pacing. "Truth doesn't even matter anymore. Just noise." Then the sound of tires. A black SUV idled outside the window. Damien stepped toward the glass and flinched as the vehicle suddenly revved and slammed into the parked rental out front. Metal crunched. Glass shattered. The car flipped, landing in a shallow construction pit 20 feet below. Seconds later, a brick smashed through the window, landing at Damien's feet. Scrawled in red across its surface, "Next time you're in it." Jordan pulled Damien back from the window as sirens echoed from down the block. "They're escalating," she said, voice trembling. Damien stood in the middle of the living room, his chest heaving. She was fired. Exposed. Done. And still. This. He picked up the brick, stared at the smeared red ink. Not a threat, a promise. 3 days after the attempted car crash, Damien Rhodes stood inside a Manhattan studio ready to speak. Outside, the city was pulsing, horns, lights, and headlines still clawing at his name, but inside everything was still. A single spotlight hovered over the chair. The mic blinked red. The camera rolled. He looked directly into the lens. I was dragged off a flight I paid for, accused of things I didn't do, cuffed, banned, poisoned, hacked, framed, a beat. And yet, here I am, not just standing, leading. He inhaled slow and deliberate. They tried to take my seat, so I built my own plane. Earlier that morning, Jordan Wells and Trey Nichols had executed the final blow. Damien's research pulled during the sleepless nights after the crash attempt revealed what Erica had never wanted anyone to see: a decade-long pattern of racial profiling complaints buried in Horizon's HR system. 3 of them had been dismissed as passenger misconduct. But Damien had the digital receipts, scanned statements, suppressed footage, HR emails marked "not worth the escalation." Then came the connection: Erica Vaughn's uncle William Torrance, board treasurer, the man who froze Damien's shares. He wasn't just protecting a rogue employee, he was shielding family. The scandal broke across 3 networks at once, an orchestrated media storm Trey dubbed The Lift. At 7:00 a.m., a whistleblower from Horizon's legal team handed over the final piece: a transfer of hush money authorized by Torrance's office, tied to a complaint from a black mother who had been downgraded for sounding upset. The footage chilling, the outrage instant. Within hours, Erica exposed trended worldwide. Horizon stock dipped 11%. Torrance resigned before lunch. The board voted unanimously to reinstate Damien's ownership. By sunset, Erica Vaughn was arrested again, this time for conspiracy, obstruction, and attempted murder. But Damien didn't celebrate. Not yet. Instead, he called a press conference of his own. At 5 p.m., with the sky outside turning to gold, he walked on stage at Horizon's flagship terminal. Not as a man seeking redemption, but as a man claiming truth. He didn't wear a tie. He didn't need one. Behind him, a projection screen lit up. The words, "her seat," "her sky." A photo appeared. An empty seat in first class with a plaque reserved in honor of every voice that was told to stay quiet. "I won't speak long." Damien began, eyes scanning the crowd. "Because the evidence speaks louder than anything I could say." Then he nodded toward the screen. The room darkened. Footage rolled, unedited, uncut. Erica smirking as she slammed his bin. The coffee spill slowed frame by frame. The untouched galley water bottle, the fake hotspot announcement, the mob she incited, the man in 8B speaking up, the street cam catching her bribing the valet. Gasps rippled. People shifted in their seats, and when the video cut, no one clapped. They just sat, still, silent, like shame had a weight. "I don't want revenge," Damien said at last. "I want responsibility." He turned to the CEO of Horizon, Malik Porter, now standing in the wings. "I'm stepping down." Malik's brow furrowed. The room stirred. Damien continued, "I'm selling my stake, and using the proceeds to launch something new, an airline where policy doesn't hide prejudice, where safety doesn't mean silence, where every seat belongs to anyone who's earned it. Skyride Airlines, taking off next spring." He stepped down from the podium. The crowd rose to its feet. Not with cheers, but with something deeper. Respect. Erica Vaughn watched the announcement from a holding cell. Her second arrest was quiet. No cuffs in front of cameras, just a short walk into a backroom cell at Rikers. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. But when the segment ended and Damien's face faded from the tiny TV bolted to the ceiling, she stood, walked to the steel toilet, and kicked it hard enough to split her toenail. The guard outside didn't flinch. "You shouldn't have poked a man like that," he said. "Now he's flying higher than ever." That night, Damien sat in a jet black sedan. No more rentals, no more hiding. His name cleared. His story owned. Beside him, Monica texted, "Kids saw the video. They're proud. So am I." He smiled. In the distance, JFK shimmered under runway lights. Planes lined up like chess pieces preparing to move. He didn't need to be Horizon's CEO anymore. He didn't need their seat. He had his own wings now. And the sky, it had never been wider. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that don't just entertain, but expose. This story shows that unchecked prejudice leads to destruction, not just of reputations, but of systems that protect the wrong people. And it proves that quiet dignity, when backed by truth and strategy, can dismantle even the loudest lies. It reminds us that racism doesn't always come in slurs or violence. Sometimes it hides behind policy safety or a forced smile. These moments still happen. In boardrooms and airports, in the everyday lives of those who are told to know their place. By standing firm, fighting smart, and practicing respect with courage, we build a world where no one has to earn their humanity, and where every seat on every flight truly belongs to everyone.